We're back with the big surprise. Told you guys if you hung out that you would really enjoy our big surprise. I have the ultimate co-host rejoining to take his rightful spot as the host of the show. Aaron's back. Can you hear me?
I am here, sir. I've heard you've done a fantastic job, so thank you.
That's like saying that Trevor Noah is carrying on John Stewart's legacy. It'll never be the same. We all miss you. We're happy that you're on here for our big surprise. So for our big surprise, we are doing the PALS Top 10 Sports Center. And if any of you guys know, Aaron is a huge, huge sports fan. So I'm going head to head with him. We're going to argue some stuff out. We're going to cover some sports topics. You guys get to see this. So the first one is I think both of us are big on this sport, the NHL playoffs. So, Aaron, you I know that you do some skating and some hockey reffing on your free time. What's your stance on these NFL or the NHL playoffs?
Well, I am excited about it, Jonah. After going, 5 months without a sport, I get some of my favorite sports back. So that makes me very happy. And I feel like the NHL so far, National Hockey League, has done a pretty good job of trying to do the right thing. With us at PALS, social distancing, masks, all that good stuff. And with them, they've really done a lot of testing, right? So all their players were tested before they ever went to training camp. And the other cool thing that the NHL did was they split it off up in Canada into two separate bubbles. So the Eastern Conference is playing over in Toronto, Canada, and then the Western Conference is in Edmonton. And those players, they basically had to leave their families and, say goodbye to everybody and head off to Ontario or Edmonton's in Alberta, I believe is the province. But either or, it was asking a lot of them. But it's actually got off to a fairly good start. We've seen that in a lot of different sports where some of them have struggled because of the virus. And in others, we've just heard about the play and what's been happening. And right now with hockey, it's been about the play on the ice. And I saw Dale give a little shout out. The Blue Jackets, we have our hometown team, one of our hometown teams. In Steubenville, there's a lot of Penguins fans, which I know Jenna can appreciate.
That was going to be my next point. Is it right that the Penguins are in these NHL playoffs? But I guess some of you feel that is good, a good choice. They, without having any fans in the stands, do you think that the NHL can keep up the intensity? NHL playoffs is probably one of the most intense sports, a series of games that you can watch. Do you think that they can even keep that intensity up for the remainder of the playoffs without having those insane fans in the stands throwing stuff on the ice, pounding on the glass and spitting and screaming? Do you think they can keep that up?
Well, I think you nailed it, because as much as you try to make it something, it really doesn't do it justice at the end of the day. So we've seen these venues where, they cover the stands up with tarp or whatever it is, so you don't really get the feel for people being in the stands, and then they pump music into the stadium. So they're playing, crowd noises and chants and, music like you typically would get at Nationwide Arena or Console Arena in Pittsburgh. But, when watching playoffs, that all changes, and fans they take it to another level, and the intensity and the excitement and the vibe, you can't recreate that. You can't make that something when It's not there. It's not visual. So I agree, Jonah. It's going to be different. They've tried. They're trying to give us something. Just not going to be the same.
Well, that's our number one, NHL playoffs. I think Aaron and I are on the same page here. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to continue to be intense. I think that hockey players are just by nature intense athletes, and so I think that they're going to sustain that. So number two.
Well, real quick, before you go to number two, for the Dales and the Knicks and everyone else, go Jackets that we play tonight. Series is tied 1-1. We need to win. So
I think we can all get behind that one, even though Dale's typing black and gold in the chat. If you guys want us to bring anything up, make sure you put it in the chat. We'll add it into the top 10. So number two. Ooh, this one's a sore subject in the Bracone household, the Washington football team. So how do we feel about the name change?
Well, I'd like to hear how everyone else feels about the name change.
Dale is shaking his head right now. Thumbs up, thumbs down. So thumbs up, Washington should have changed their name. Thumbs down, Washington should not have changed their name. So thumbs up, thumbs down. So I think most people are shooting thumbs down, should not have changed their name. I think I saw maybe one. So here's the stance. I feel like for me, sports team names have been they've been designed to idolize certain things. They've been brought up. They've been named to bring attention to certain things, and I'm not understanding where it became something that offends people. So Dale also thinks that the Indians changing their name is another misstep. So what's your stance here, Aaron?
Well, this is our new logo. So what do you think my stance is? I absolutely fell in love with the Redskins a long time ago. I'm from a small town called Mingo Junction, and there was a lot of Native American history there. So the high school was actually the Mingo Indians, and the logo was very similar to the Redskins, but just take out the Indian and put an M. And I guess the problem I have with that a little bit is, if it was offensive, I can't speak to that because I'm not Native American, and that is certainly not fair to take a stance on whether or not something like that is offensive. But in listening to a lot of Native Americans and, some of the history behind that, they weren't as offended. Actually, they were a little bit more proud that their heritage was continuing to be recognized, and we didn't forget about our past and our history. It's like I love the Gallia County segments because we learn about Chief Cornstalk and all these cool people like Tecumseh. And I love the Native American history inside of our country. So it kind of bothers me a little bit because I think we continue to talk about that history and bring it up when you look at some different logos and different sports teams that, like Dale said, the Indians and Seminoles or whatever it is that would reflect that type of heritage. So
it's hard because we get words that get by our own context become negative in context, and then all of a sudden we have to remove them from the entire language and act like they're not there. Whereas I'm kind of with you here. I mean, I just feel like if there was something that the Cleveland Browns are up here, people make fun of Cleveland and things like that, and if there was a team called the Clevelanders and all of a sudden it became a negative context, that's part of history. I think that I can stick with that, so I'm kind of with you here. I don't agree with the name change.
It's funny because I get updates on my phone sometimes, and I just got one as we were talking about this because the Redskins, well, they're not the Redskins, the Washington football team. just sent out the design for their new football helmet, and it kind of looks like Alabama a little bit, right? With the solid helmet, and then they have the player's number on the side. So it is what it is, as our president said.
Yeah, no, I've seen a pretty good meme of everyone is bashing the Washington Redskins for not having a cool name and having no logo on their helmet. And then the next piece of the meme is Cleveland Browns fans. So, damn, that brings us to number 3. This one's tough for me. The Browns season, how that's going to go and what that looks like. So I've been talking to people up here. A lot of season ticket holders are opting out here. So here's one of the things they're doing up in Cleveland. They're not guaranteeing that you will be sitting in your seats. They're not guaranteeing that your whole party will even be able to sit together. They're not guaranteeing the number of fans that are coming into the stadium. They are giving the fans absolutely no information to spend thousands of dollars of their hard-earned cash to go to a season that I feel like is going to feel like preseason. So, up here, the feeling towards the Brown season is sketchy at best. However, to go with Dale, one of our big followers over here, I do agree. I think it is Baker's year. I think Baker is going to be coming out of his shell. I think he got a big slice of humble pie last year. They all thought that they were the glory, they were the dream team of offense, and they went out and got slaughtered because they did not put the work in. They did not get on the same page. And Austin Hooper is already staying at Baker's house. So they're playing catch in the backyard, similar to my boys. They got the pitch back and all that stuff. So I think they're taking it seriously. I think people are getting on board. So what say you, Aaron?
Well, I have a couple questions because it's hard to keep up with the Browns, right? They're a little bit like my squad, the Redskins, so I have no room to talk with any of this. But, who's the coach this year? I'm serious.
So
Freddie Kitchens? It's not Freddie Kitchens.
Stefanski was the offensive coordinator for Minnesota, and he's gets a lot of gleaming results from players and stuff like that. But so have the last 3 coaches. Hugh Jackson was the players coach, and was he the first or second for most losses by a coach? It was
number 1.
It was number 1. Yeah, no, it was the worst, and
3 years.
It's hard for me to get hyped up. For the first year, I feel like most Browns fans are kind of going into the season similar to someone in an abusive relationship. We're just kind of hesitant to really fall in love with anybody again. We've had our hearts broken way too many times up here. It's hard to get behind it. So
it is, because last year you think about it, you had Odell come in, you had so much excitement around the Browns organization, and you always have that excitement. You have one of the most loyal fan bases out there, but it's also kind of sad to watch, right? So when you see the superstar come on board and you think that it's going to turn it around, and then they end up doing exactly what you said, kind of you lose that faith, you lose that hope. But their coach could do some pretty special things with Kirk Cousins. I'm sure he'll be able to do amazing things with Baker Mayfield. I think Dorsey leaving hurts you a little bit because I think he is a football guy and he knows what's best for an organization sometimes. And then I guess my last question for the Browns is: are they still doing Moneyball? Is that still a real thing? Is that
It is. So this is supposedly the first year that the whole team is in unison and in agreement for where Moneyball lies. For those of you that don't know what he's referencing, Paul DePodesta, the gentleman that became popular working for the Oakland A's in the 90s. Aaron, is that right?
He put
they
together brothers.
What was that?
He helped put together the Bash brothers, Mark McGuire.
And so that winning streak was just broken by either last year or the year before by the Cleveland Indians. It was the most win streaks in the American League, I believe. So Paul DePodesta was the guy that helped put that together. He was a math guy and was finding undiscovered people, and he has been brought into the Browns office, and he's been working behind the scenes. But you have this big argument where football scouts know best, and then he's saying that math doesn't lie. And this year is the first year that the head coach, the front office, Moneyball, they're all kind of in unison, saying that Moneyball's not the answer by itself. It's a piece of the puzzle. Being that gut feeling football guy is not by itself the answer. And so this year is really the big telling year of Moneyball, to see how much disjointedness in the front office comes out of it. And if there's still a total crap show after this, then I don't think there's any bringing them together. And I would see Paul DePodesta going after this year.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have the pleasure of being with Jonah when he got to shake Paul's hand last preseason. It was pretty cool. I know you bought into the data and the analytics and everything else, and I do hope it works out. It's interesting that it worked in baseball, and now they're trying it in football. So
boom. That brings us to our next topic, number 4. I don't know why I keep saying number 2. Number 4, the state of baseball. So this one's an interesting one. We just had the Marlins have to sit out. What was that, a week? So I feel like this is a big canary in the coal mine kind of tester season for the way that they're operating and how much different that is than the NBA and the NHL, and how much of kind of a train wreck this season's been so far. So do you think that do you think that the MLB season is just going to continue to go down the toilet?
Unfortunately, I do, just because we don't have control over the virus. We all realize that. That's why we're sitting here in front of a screen right now, and we're talking this way instead of being in the programs with one another. We're living in a different world. So when you're living in that different world, you have to do everything basically new. And that's what the NHL has done. They recreated their system. They added 24 teams to make up their playoffs, and they put it in a bubble. The NBA, same thing. They shortened their season down to a few games, and they put it in a bubble. Major League Soccer did the same thing. We're seeing now that we have baseball and we have football right around the corner that chose not to put themselves in a bubble, which is very interesting for a lot of reasons, right? So we know with the coronavirus now, each state is different, right? So we had times where Ohio was the best and we were doing amazing. And then we had moments a couple weeks ago where other states said, don't come here, or if you do come here, you have to stay somewhere for 14 days before you go out into public and be around others. But baseball, it's been a little bit different, right? Because these guys are flying around the country. They're going to these different states that people are saying you have to be put in quarantine. But there's a reason why. And it's because they have a lot of money and they have a lot of backing, and they can give people tests every single day. And they continue to put all these safeguards in place, right, that we couldn't even be able to pull off and do. But because of where they're at, they have the ability, and they're failing. And that's pretty telling, right, that they have all these resources. They can test players every single day. And here we are 2-3 weeks into the season, and the Marlins have played 5 games, and the Phillies have played 17 games. And I think last week at one point, 25% of the teams in the Major League Baseball were in quarantine. They weren't playing. And, as much as I want sports back, it's like at what cost, right? So as much as I want all of you back, I need to make sure you're safe. I need to make sure you're healthy. And I need to be able to stand behind that. And I think at first baseball was standing behind it, but as this has played out a little bit, they're backing off. So I don't know, Jonah, your thoughts? You're up in Cleveland. You're in a baseball town. Tell me what's going on.
I'm with you 100%, Aaron. I think that if baseball continues to operate the way that they are, it's going to go down the toilet. I feel like if money cannot keep you away from the virus. So even though they have these daily tests and the fact that they are just traveling from city to city, they're eating in towns outside of these control groups. They're coming into contact with more people. I think that this is an exact. I think baseball is the perfect second part of the experiment that shows us that fall and winter sports had better follow the ways of the NHL and the NBA, or they are not going to work and the seasons are going to end disastrously. So that actually brings us to number 5, the NBA Disney bubble. So the NBA is operating outside of, the NBA is really operating in a bubble. So I guess stemming from what we just discussed, I'm kind of inclined to know how you feel about this, Aaron, but tell us your thoughts on that.
Well, I had to talk you into this topic. Jenna's a big NBA fan, by the way.
I like Disney.
Yeah, right. Well, we talked about NHL, and they have 2 different cities that they're doing their bubble in, but the NBA and Major League Soccer both decided to use Walt Disney World down in Orlando, Florida. And what they did is they basically, because they opened up Disney World too, right? So in the middle of July, they opened the parks back up. So they basically had to seclude these players in 3 different resorts, and I believe they used
the Grand Floridian.
Yeah, they were really nice ones. Grand Floridian, Boardwalk, and then Coronado Springs, I think. So those resorts, they actually stopped having guests come to and just made it for the NBA. And then what was also cool is they built all these courts there. So, all these resorts and hotels, they have a lot of conferences and they have a lot of people that come in and out. So they have these huge rooms that they break up into different conference rooms, but they opened them all up and they put like 10 courts in each of them. So the players wake up, they can go downstairs, practice, do whatever they need to do, and then head over to the facility afterwards. So it feels like what they're doing is a little bit safer because they're keeping it inside. And also, similar to the NHL, their families are not there with them. It's just the players. They talked about the conference finals, or if they got that far, if teams made it to the conference finals, that they would potentially invite the families to join them. But right now, they're all by themselves, so it's pretty weird.
I'm with you. I think this is a great strategy. I used to be in the Coast Guard, and to get paid, I had to get on a boat and sail away, and I was gone for months at a time. And that was my income for my family. So I didn't get to see anyone for months at a time, but that was how I paid the bills. And I feel like if these players want to pay the bills and they want to continue, building those legacies, the best way to do that is to put yourself in that quarantine bubble and keep all yourselves and the ones around you safe. And I think that the plan that the NBA put together is it might be the best one out of all of them. I think that the NBA is going to pull off a successful season. I think that they're going to have a lot of viewers. And I know Dale already put in our comments section, thinks the Lakers are going to win it all. I think that's a pretty lofty goal, but, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you bringing up the military side of things, right? Because, that's ultimately the ultimate sacrifice. You're leaving your family for months, maybe years in some cases. These guys make a lot of money to leave it for a couple weeks. So, but they're definitely adjusting like everyone else has. It's a new world for them, but they seem to be doing it, pretty well right now. So I can get behind.
And I agree there. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Not getting to see your family for an
Right.
extended amount of time is miserable for anyone. So I know that the players miss their families and things like that. But if that's your source of income and that's how you pay the bills and that's how you keep yourself and the people around you safe, then I think it's got to be done. So that brings us to our next topic, number 6, Joe Burrow, number 1 pick overall. We have the
Burrow,
new helmsman of the Cincinnati Bengals. So according to all the pundits, the most football NFL ready quarterback that was drafted, that was even available this year. So first off, do you think that he was the most NFL ready? And Dale also wants to know if he's going to be Rookie of the Year.
I think so.
Rookie of the Year, says Vito. Okay. What about do you think he was the most NFL ready person and he was the brings the most value to the team? Number 1 overall pick it's a pretty big deal.
Or did my team get that? And I'm not even sold on him because I'm not a Buckeye, but he's pretty good, so I'm not complaining. Chase Young, the best player in the draft, or Joe Burrow?
I would go with either Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert.
Wow. The dark horse. I like it. He's bringing in some extra.
That is
okay.
The new Chargers quarterback, for those of you that don't know, from the University of Oregon, Justin Herbert. I will say this. I will go with, he probably was the best player. Even though Chase Young was incredible and is so talented, I've never seen a quarterback do what that kid did last year. I mean, did he have 7 touchdowns in the national championship game? I mean, the records he broke, the things that he did, and it was in the Southeastern Conference. So you're playing against the best competition. It's not like he was in the Big 12 playing. So I have to believe. And the other thing I like about Joe Burrow more than anything he has done on the field is how he's handled himself off the field. I think that's what I love about athletes. When they've made it to a certain level, but they have that humbleness inside of them that they appreciate how they got there. And in his Heisman speech, he talked about Athens a lot. He talked about Southern Ohio and the amount of money that poured into the food banks and into the homeless shelters and everything. It was, I think, like 30, 40 times anything they've ever received because it was coming from all over the country and really in some ways all over the world. And that's pretty awesome. If a person can do things like that, I'm rooting for them. I don't care who they are and what team they play for. So that's why I respected Joe Burrow. Go ahead.
I agree. I think he steps up to the hype. I think he's going to create some competitiveness with the Bengals. And I think the AFC North reigns again as one of the top divisions in the NFL. And I think that people will fear the division because I feel like if the Browns can get their stuff together, and I think the Bengals are on the right track. I think that and Pittsburgh and the Ravens have had continued success. So I think that this is going to be a really tough division now that Joe's here.
I like this. Take down Lamar from Dale. Well, Dale, and this one's for you too, because I'm going to ask Jonah this question, but I would like for you to put it in the chat or anyone else for that matter. The AFC North is strong this year. Give me your ranking 1 to 4. Vito, you too. For me, I'll start. Ravens 1 because you have the best quarterback, I feel, still in that division with Lamar. What he did against the Bengals last year, that highlight reel, we'll never forget that. That'll be played for the next 20 years. I think the Steelers are falling off. Normally they would be number 2 or 1, but I don't have faith in Big Ben. So I got both of your teams actually jumping over them. I'm putting the Steelers at 4th right now in that division because I think the Bengals step up a little bit. I'm gonna go Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Steelers. Jonah?
That is actually my ranking as well. I'm rooting for a wild card seed for the Browns, obviously being from Cleveland. But I feel like with the quality of play with the NFL this year, I think that they're going to be reaching pretty deep into the rosters quite often. And I feel like this is not the year that Lamar goes down. And hands down, he is a phenomenal quarterback. You can't argue with that. I think Mayfield and Burrow, who are, gunslingers, and with the soft defense that I expect coming out of play this year, I think that they really get it done. But Big Ben, I'm with you. I don't think he's got what he used to. He's got more habits and more tape down than any of the other quarterbacks in the division. I think the defensive coordinators will be able to stop him. So I'm with you.
I like that. Dale had the same one as us. So he has Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Steelers. Vito?
I'm going to go with Chiefs.
No, wait. We're staying in the AFC North. So
AFC North.
Who's first? Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Bengals.
Ravens.
Second.
Number 2.
Bengals. Third.
Browns.
4, and then the Steelers. Okay, just flipping
Okay.
those.
I mean, wow, this is earth-changing over here. I mean, we had 3 consensus Steelers in the bottom of the division. That just shows that there is some change of brewing in the AFC North. Crazy. Speaking of change, number 7. This one's a big one. Tom Brady. Possibly the GOAT, I don't know. But he had a big team change this year. He's down in Florida, like all people that are retired. So now he's playing with the Bucs. Aaron, do you think he was a system quarterback, or do you think he goes down there and gets it done?
He's the GOAT, is who he is. And that means, for those of you that don't know, he is the greatest of all time. Because even though he was in the perfect system, right, there is no denying what Bill Belichick has accomplished and who he is. But I don't think Bill Belichick accomplishes what he does without Brady, and Brady doesn't accomplish it without Belichick. But I think Brady has only learned and got better over the years, and he is the constant competitor and always wants to win. I think you saw that with what he did right away. No one thought Gronkowski was playing football again. That was it. He was riding off into the sunset and going to the Caribbean and spending his time, having a good time. But now all of a sudden he's back working every single day, trying to be the best tight end in football because Tom Brady asked him to come back. And that tells you something about him as a leader. And whenever the game was on the line, you wanted him to have the football. He would come back. He would come from behind. They wouldn't win pretty. They would hardly ever win pretty. But if the game was on the line, give him the ball and he'd go down and he'd score. So that in itself tells me that he'll probably do well in Tampa, and especially because that division has changed. Drew Brees is getting older. I think that'll be the biggest competition for Tampa Bay there. But then Cam Newton, right? Cam left. He's no longer in Carolina. He's up in New England, so he's hanging out with Belichick. I don't know how that works out for them, right? And then you have the Falcons, so you never know what you're going to get with the Falcons. He can win that division. He can win that division, man. And then if he does, he gets into playoffs. We know what Brady does in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think Brady's just dangerous. I feel like I said, I feel like the entire NFL season is going to be reaching pretty deep into the rosters. I feel like I feel like when they reach far, I feel like offense comes out on top. The game now is built for offensive scoring. And one thing else that is also built for offensive scoring is 43-year-old Tom Brady. He is just continued to show that if he gets time in the pocket, he will just pick you apart. So I'm with you. I think he goes down there. I think he wins the division, and like the Red Wings of old, you can't trust them once they get into the playoffs, because it doesn't matter how they get in there. Once they're in there, you got to respect them, and I feel that way about Tom Brady. So I think we're on the same page with that one. Our next one
now, real quick, with that, with Brady and what he has accomplished and what he's been able to do, you think about Bill Belichick. He was a defensive coach, and Tom's obviously a quarterback. And now he has Bruce Arians, who is an offensive coach down in Tampa Bay. So I think that helps him as well. Just wanted to add that. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Our number 8. This one is strange. Came out recently. So the recently bankrupt XFL, for those of you that don't know, the bankrupt second professional football organization was recently bought out by a group that is headlined by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. So Aaron, I know The Rock, he came up playing some football. He's built for it. He loves football. Do you think that this gives the XFL finally the wind that it needs in its sails to give us a second successful professional football league?
This is such a tricky one, Jonah, because I've watched the XFL for, 20 years, right? It came way back when He Hate Me was taking over the headlines. What a name, by the way. And Vince McMahon is truly a good businessman. He normally can take a product and make it something that people fall in love with. I mean, we saw that with wrestling. We saw that with quite a few other things that he had touched. Hey, even our president bought into Vince McMahon and showed up for a couple WrestleManias for some matches. So, I mean, that tells you the type of business person he is. But when he jumped into the NFL, he got greedy. It was outside of his realm. He's a competitor. He wants to win, but he was never going to win that battle. And he made a game 20 years ago that was completely different than what we saw. And I think the ratings were good for week 1. They were decent for week 2. Then no one watched from there on that. And the same thing kind of happened this year. Even though the product was better, it was closer to football. It wasn't a show. It wasn't entertainment as much. It fizzled out after 2 or 3 weeks, and people were not interested. And then the pandemic happened. And they had to shut down. With The Rock, everything he's been touching has turned to gold, literally gold. What he has done as a movie star and some of the roles he's played, everyone really seems to like him. I mean, there was even talk a year or 2 ago about him running for president, right? I mean, after Donald Trump kind of opened it up to it wasn't going to be a politician anymore, it could just be anybody. There was a lot of talk about, Dwayne Johnson stepping in there and doing it. So I think he can. I actually do. I think he has a lot of pride in himself. He's going to give you his best, his absolute best. And like Jonah said, he has a football mind. He actually played for the University of Miami in the early 90s. He was on the Hurricanes, and he lost his position to future Hall of Famer Warren Sapp. That's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's story, and then he went and followed his dad.
I agree. I think that he is the perfect balance of businessman and football star that has finally given the XFL a fighting chance. I feel like they've just missed a couple times, and we've come so close. And The Rock, I'm also with you. Everything he touches turns to gold. He stepped into a movie series, Fast and Furious, after what were they on? Fast and Furious 15, and he just takes them over the finish line, gets his own series, and keeps bringing it in and keeps entertaining. So I think he does. I think he does whatever it takes to get the XFL over the finish line, and I'm excited. So that brings us to our number 9. Wow, this is crazy. boxing legend Mike Tyson, at the age of 54, announces that he wants to get back in the ring. I mean, I'm looking at pictures of him. I'm in my 30s. He's in his 50s. I would not even raise my voice at this man. He scares me. He looks great. Do you think that he comes back in the ring at 54 and puts an entertaining fight on the mat?
You know, I mean, we saw Mike Tyson as a young man back in the 80s, and he made a lot of bad decisions, did a lot of different things that he probably isn't proud of. But I think he has definitely, for the last 30 years or so, worked to really change his image, and with that has come his mentality towards things. And I think, George Foreman did something very similar, where he went away from the sport for years and then came back out of retirement. I think at 49, Foreman was. So he's about 5 years older. But I think if anyone can do it, Mike Tyson can do it, right? That's kind of my thought process with something like that. I don't know if anyone can come out of retirement and box at 54, 55 and take a hit from a 30-year-old like that. But if anyone can, Iron Mike can.
I mean, I feel like this is like watching the real life version of the Rocky Balboa movie. It's watching somebody. They're going to do an exhibition match. It's going to be 8 rounds. Mike Tyson just is a boxing legend. His punches, they look scary. And so he's got the technique. He's got the know-how. He's been entrenched in this sport for decades now, and I put him up there with the Tom Brady's of their respectable sports, of just being a scholar of the game, and I feel like experience goes a long way in any sport, in any profession. So I think he does. I think he gets out there and he surrounds himself with good trainers that tell him how to go the distance, how to make sure that he protects himself, and how to just continue to hit hard. And I don't think he has ever shorted us on how hard he hits. So I'm with you there. For number 10, our last one, the college football season. So this guy, this is just continues to change. So do you think that college football puts together a good product and a good season and entertains us all this winter?
Oh, that is very tough to say at this point, Jonah. Considering that most colleges decide that they're only going to play within their own conference, which I don't know how Notre Dame's going to pull that off. But actually, I just saw another thing. It's funny, as we've been doing this, I'm getting alerts. So the coaches poll came out today. And Clemson was the preseason number 1, Clemson Tigers, followed by the Ohio State Buckeyes at 3. Alabama is 3, Ohio State is 2, Alabama is 3, Georgia is 4, LSU is 5. So there's your preseason top 5 in college football, if we even have a season to watch. I don't even know what to say about this right now. When you think about college athletic, there's so much that goes into it. These are amateurs that are playing a sport. They're not even being paid to do that. So it's different than the NBA bubble when these guys are leaving because it's their job and they're being reimbursed for it. With the college kids, there's a lot of risk with just being back on campuses. A lot of schools are going virtually, right? So you have this whole argument of, well, how can school be virtual, but I can get on a football field and tackle people? So I don't know how long it goes. They're not going to play in a bubble either, right? So these teams are going to be traveling from Ohio to Michigan to Illinois to New York City and play against Rutgers and everywhere else. That scares me. I don't like that the game is being played on October 16th now instead of the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I think that takes away from it, even though
Dale agrees with you there. He also put in our comment section that he totally disagrees with the game getting moved.
Who does, Dale?
Dale commented about that as well.
Yeah, I just saw the one comment he made. I did. The University of Connecticut canceled their season as well the other day, and you're starting to see this. The Ivy League, so the Harvards, the Yales, they all decided they're not playing. Division II and Division III schools have pretty much shut down. So we'll see. They're going to give it a shot. You know, the Pac-12, I think, is playing their own schedule with their own teams. The Big Ten is playing their own schedule with their own teams. And the ACC is playing their own schedule with their own teams. And then outside of that, everyone else is just figuring it out. So I don't know. I don't know how you have a college football playoff after something like that, you know. And so Justin Fields gets coronavirus week 2. And is that, you know, are they still number 2 in the country if they don't have him anymore because he's in quarantine for 14 days? You know, these are just very tough questions right now, but it's fun to talk about. It's fun to discuss. I think this was a great segment, Jonah. So I enjoyed my time here, man. This is fun.
I agree. I think, unfortunately, I'm going on record right now that college football, unfortunately, the whole season goes down in flames. They're not playing in a bubble. There's way too many unknowns. They're going to somebody is going to step out and protect these student athletes, and with the style of play that they have, with the safeguards that they are or are not taking, I just don't think they're able to pull off a successful season. So, but I had a lot of fun as well. I really appreciate Aaron, our OG host, you know, coming up here and taking his throne back as the ultimate PALS TV host. So hopefully he stops by more often. I know he's swamped trying to get you guys back doing the stuff that you love, and he's been really fighting the good fight. So if everybody gives Aaron a good golf clap on here, he's been doing a lot and really working hard to keep PALS moving forward. And as you can see, we see sports, you know, they're struggling to put together a good season. So you can imagine that Aaron really struggles trying to put together a good PAL season for you guys. So he's got a lot of decisions, a lot of meetings to do as well. So
it is my privilege, Jonah. It's my privilege. And Dale, I do resent that, but I can absolutely understand where you're coming from. He put down Michigan should cancel their season.
What a great way to end this segment. So thank you guys for attending our big surprise. I'm glad Aaron could stop by. You guys feel free to socialize. We'll be back at the top of the hour to finish out our day strong. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye, everyone. Take care.